Imagine this. Numbers. We add them, subtract them, multiply and divide. But numbers are more than devices for keeping count. They are symbols with their own meanings. For example, to be number one means to be the best of the best. But sometimes, number one is used to reference a more common bodily process. Then you have the number 420, the number that comes after 419, or a code for a special plant and its recreational applications. How about the number 13? Many consider it to be incredibly unlucky. In fact, many buildings even lack a 13th floor, or at least label it as the 14th floor. It's almost always the case that elevator panels lack a 13th floor button, and some believe that it's bad luck to get married on the 13th day of the month. Speaking of days, Friday the 13th, another example of numerical superstition. You see, we've always used numbers in this fashion, especially in religious texts. In the Bible, there is one number that's held a sinister reputation for centuries. Some have called it the devil's number, and many Christians avoid mentioning it on a he who shall not be named basis. The number is 666. Considered by many to be a three-digit demon of its own, Westerners tend to avoid the number, with one famous instance being the renaming of U.S. Route 666. Once dubbed the Devil's Highway, it was renamed to the more mundane Route 491. Another famous example is when former President Ronald Reagan had the address of his Bel Air home changed from 666 to 668. But how did this number come to be feared and even taboo among certain circles? Well, it all began in the book of Revelation, the final book of the Bible which describes the end of days, a time of war and disaster the likes of which our world has never seen. Amongst the chaos described in the verses is a creature who rises from the sea. This creature is known as the Beast, or AntiChrist, a malevolent figure whose persona is symbolized by a monster with 10 horns and many heads. The Beast is granted authority over the earth, and over the course of 42 months it slanders God and wages war against his people. But how is the Beast linked to 666? Like many passages in the Bible, the story of the Beast leaves more questions than answers, the greatest mystery being that of the Beast's identity. Who is he? Who was he? Or who will he be? In order to identify this Antichrist, many theologians, people who study the Christian religion, have relied on clues left within the Bible, the most important clue being found in Revelation chapter 13, verse 18. It says, "This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. But in this context, how does the number correspond to a man, let alone the beast of Revelation? One of the working theories is that 666 is more than a number. It's a name. Decode the number, and you'll have the name of the Antichrist. This is based on the ancient practices of gematria and isopsephy, both of which assign a numerical value to letters, names, words, and phrases. Some believe that the letters of the beast's name will add to 666. Many theorists have attempted to plug in the names of popular figures such as serving politicians, as well as history's greatest monsters, with no success, all except for one. A man worthy of the title Antichrist, Roman Emperor Nero. Known for his many atrocities, including the persecution of Christians, it's believed by some that Nero is the beast of Revelation. It's important to note that this book was written in Greek. Now, the Greek version of Nero's Caesar is Neron Kaiser. With the Greek name converted into Hebrew, the values of the letters add up to a sum of 666. Interestingly enough, not every New Testament manuscript lists the beast number as 666. There are some ancient copies that list it as 616. So which is it? Previously, we used the Greek spelling, but if you take the Latin spelling of Nero's name, and if you convert that spelling into Hebrew, well, wouldn't you know it, the values add up to 616. Both of them work. It's theorized that 666 and 616 are only slight variants of one another, a confusing product of both Greek and Latin, though the Greek 666 is far more common in ancient manuscripts. Further justification for the Nero theory is based on Revelation chapter 13, verse 17, a verse which describes that those under the leadership of the beast would not be able to buy or sell unless they carried the mark which bared his number or name. Given the historical context of the time, it would only make sense for the author of Revelation to use secret numbers in order to condemn his persecutors. Only a man with a death wish would call the emperor a beast, unless he did it in code. Though there are some problems with the Nero theory. For one, many believe Revelation was written decades after his death, although rumors circle throughout the empire that Nero was in fact alive and would one day return. Given his reputation, the paranoia was understandable. Another problem with the Nero theory is that the use of gematria is unreliable, as there are many names that could add up to 666. It's regarded as too convenient, as you can get any number if you're constantly respelling or retranslating the name to get your desired result. Some hold the idea that 666 is purely symbolic, in a stark contrast with 777, another number regarded by some to symbolize God's perfection. It's the idea that 6 is one less than 7 and thus falls short of the glory of God. At the end of the day, we're all free to believe whatever we want. For some, the number is prophecy. For others, it's history. But we can all agree that as of today, 666 will continue to remain a mystery. And no, I didn't intend for that to rhyme. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Jonathan from Imagine This.